You know what old Jack Burton always says at a time like this?
Come on, then. I'll bite your legs off.
I can take it.
Great power comes great responsibility. We have a fault. Get to the chopper! Andy! There's the flesh wound. I am the father.
These are photos of an island in the South Pacific.
The place where myth and science meet.
We use explosives to shake the earth, helping us to map the surface of the island.
You're dropping bombs. Scientific instruments.
Is that a monkey?
Magnificent.
You knew that thing was out here?
I'm sorry for your men, Colonel. But if you want to make their sacrifice worthwhile, get us home with proof. Monsters exist.
Whoa.
Your friend there can put that down. What the hell is this place?
That's Kong. He's king around here. Kong's a pretty good king. Keeps to himself mostly. Well, you don't go into someone's house and start dropping bombs unless you're picking a fight. Kong's god on the island, but the devils live below us.
And what are they called?
I call them skull crawlers.
Why?
Never said that name out loud before. It sounds stupid now that I say. Just, you call them whatever you want. It's a good group of boys. We're all gonna die together out here. You shouldn't have come here.
And welcome back to the 26th episode of the monster movie Stompdown for Sludgecast. Of course, you got Sludge here. Across from me is Mark and our brother from Texas.
It's Ruben.
Man, we're excited. So this was supposed to be about this one. We're super excited because we were talking before we started the show. It's been just a little bit since we've all watched it. We're doing Kong Skull Island this episode, and man, we just forgot how good of a movie this is. There's a reason why it's the highest grossing of the Monsterverse, and we'll definitely get into that. But this was supposed to be, we were supposed to do this film, and then the next episode we were going to do the Monsterverse, so talk about King of the Monsters and stuff, because originally Godzilla vs. Kong was coming out next month, but, Legendary took that away from us, and now we got to go wait till freaking November to watch Godzilla vs. Kong, but it's okay. They're doing it for a good reason. But again, thanks, Legendary. Totally screwed our plan up. But we're excited about this one. And of course, the next one will go back to a Godzilla film. And then we're going to switch gears. We're going to be doing Leviathan, an 80s monster flick, underwater monster flick with Peter Weller. And I'm stoked about that one. That was a friend request from Justin McLean. And I was like, yeah, dude, we totally do that movie. Love that movie.
Been a while since I've seen it. I want to have to go back.
Man, I watch that one pretty regularly.
Do you?
Oh, yeah.
It's been a while since I've seen that one.
I probably watch that at least once every other month.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Man. I love it. That's just like one of my fun go-to films. It's like, man, I just want to watch something that just, it sounds so weird, but just puts me in a good mood. It's just to watch people get like just embodied and mutated and a little odd. But yeah, I love it though, because I'm a big Peter Weller fan, and Amanda Pays is in it, man. And I had a big crush on her because of the Flash, not the 90s Flash TV series. So love that movie. So can't wait to get to that one. But this time around, I'm back on the track here. We're talking about Kong Skull Island, and this one is an absolute blast. And it's different for Kong because we got Kong, but this is the first time Kong's story hasn't exactly been, not the first time it's not been the same, but it really isn't. I mean, even with King Kong Escapes, where you got Mecha Knee Kong and using him to get Element X, you still had that Kong storyline there, with Susan falling in love with her, and she kind of led him wherever he needed to go. He fought the T-Rex or Gorosaurus. Every movie's kind of been essentially the same from the original one. King Kong Lives probably got the farthest off, but it just trailed off and continued from that original storyline. With Kong Skull Island, they kind of completely revamped everything with Kong.
It's totally separate. Yeah, it's like its own story in itself.
Oh yeah, and it's super good. So for those listening who haven't seen it, which again, for those who listen to the show, I know you guys probably seen most of what we talk about, but for this one, it's set in 1973, the end of the Vietnam War era, and Bill Randa, played by John Goodman, in an amazing role, who's one of the founding members of Monarch, who we were introduced to in the 2014 Godzilla film. That's part of this kind of the central organization, this MonsterVerse movies that Legendary's putting out. They find Skull Island, and they want to take an expedition there for kind of multiple reasons, to find out what other Mutos, because at this point in history in the MonsterVerse, they're still calling them Mutos, massive unidentified terrestrial organisms. But also, you've got the other doctor, I'm trying to remember his name. Dang it, it's driving me nuts now. Who has come up with the what is it, that underground theory? Do you remember what they call that? Which we see a lot of in Godzilla King of the Monsters, where there's these, pretty much another world underground. These different pockets of places where monsters live, and then King of the Monsters, they talk about vortexes and things like that, and so they go for those two reasons. And as when they go, they of course have to have a military escort, which is led by Samuel L. Jackson, who we all know is an absolutely amazing actor. He plays Preston Packard, the colonel who leads the military operation. And of course, you got a bunch of scientists, and then you got Brie Larson, who I think is a hit or miss in films, but she is a photographer. Mason Weaver in this one, who's along the journey, and they go to Skull Island, and obviously they find Kong, and Kong immediately quickly takes out half of the helicopters and kills half of the military men, and sets the story in motion, because now you've got them kind of split apart trying to get off this island, and half of them, led by Packard, Samuel L. Jackson, he just wants to kill Kong. To him, Vietnam War shouldn't have ended. They just abandoned it. So he's still in his own war, and he's going to unleash that war on Kong because he's killed his men. Yep. And then you've got Tom Hiddleston, who's a great actor. We all know as Loki. He is a British kind of a special forces.
What they call it.
Yeah, he was a tracker. I mean, he was like part of a British Special Forces or captain, but he's James Conrad in this, and so he's got him and Brie Larson and the other characters, and they're trying to get to the north side of the island to escape, and they end up finding who's probably, I think, the best character in the movie that we have, because John Goodman's great. I mean, the cast is stellar. Samuel Jackson's great. Tom Hiddleston's great. But then we've got, and now I can't even think of his name, and it drives me absolutely nuts. Man, he was in with Will Ferrell, Step Brothers. What is his? Dang it, Danny.
John C. Reilly. I'm sorry.
John C. Reilly. That's right, John C. Reilly. So he's there, and he's actually been on the island since World War One, so since the 40s. Yeah. They run into him, and he's been living with the natives on the island since World War One, and he is an absolute hoot. He's the comedic relief and kind of gives the background of what's going on, because on this island, Kong is not the only major monster. You've got the skull crawlers, which I think are an amazing original monster for this film, and they pretty much were, the devils that live below is what they call them. Ate everything, attacked everything.
Responsible for Kong's parents.
Yes. So Kong was the reason why he's the last. They give it more background. It is his parents and his species fought off these skull crawlers, but they they call the big one, the main skull crawler, is who killed Kong's parents and made him an orphan. So in the movie, Kong's still pretty young. He's actually a juvenile. And that really kind of sets the stage for Godzilla vs. Kong because the size difference, he's growing. This is back in the 70s. Godzilla vs. Kong will be in modern day times. But so he's actually just a kid in this movie. And it's just, you see the story intertwine from a lot of great stories going on. As far as the movie with Packard going against Kong, the rest of them, Tom Hiddleston, them finding out the story of Kong, who he is. He's king, he's God on this island, and he's there to protect all life from these skull crawlers. And you find a lot about Kong that he's got a major vendetta against these things because they killed his parents. I mean, they killed his family. He's the last of his kind because of them. And it all builds to a massively amazing climax between the big skull crawler, the main one, and Kong at the end. And just an absolutely epic fight. And then what remaining survivors get off Skull Island. And then there's an awesome teaser at the end. The Kong's not the only king, tying into Monsterverse. And it's just a super great, super fun film. So if you guys haven't watched it, definitely recommend watching this film. For Kong, it was completely different. It's Kong, but it's a very, very different film. But it did extremely well. I mean, it came out in 2017. Was in March of 2017 came out. It ended up grossing $566 million worldwide at the box office. So it was a major success for this series. It was actually nominated for an Academy Award too. I think Best Visual Effects, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not sure. Yep.
Is what it was nominated for. Don't think it won it, but it was nominated because, it's great. Actually, I do want to say Kong looked absolutely amazing. So did the skull crawlers and the other animals and monsters you see on the island. But I do want to say that the guy who played Kong in the movie, what was his? I'm trying to remember his name. Toby, maybe. He was Toby Kebbell is his name. He played the motion capture for Kong, and we've seen Toby before. Toby was actually in the Planet of the Apes series. He played Koba. You guys remember which?
Oh,
who I'm talking about? Yeah, the one with the scar on him. So Toby's definitely familiar to the motion capture special effects anyways, because he's been doing it for years, but also playing an ape. He's got a lot of experience because of the Planet of the Apes series. He was in 2 of those films playing Koba. And so he handles Kong great. Absolutely great when it comes to the motion capture. And I definitely wanted to drop that in there. So a lot of good stuff with this film, man. Special effects are great.
Doesn't he play Chapman?
Yes, he does.
Yes, he does. I forgot about that. He does play
Chapman. Yeah. He plays Chapman, and he does Kong's facial parts, I guess. I don't know.
Right.
Does he do... I thought it was just face, but he does everything?
Yeah.
He does the whole motion capture?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, then that makes me wonder. Terry Notary also.
Did he help do some of the Kong stuff?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
cool. I thought it was all just Toby. But so Terry Notary, he's probably part of the same school because Toby went to, I don't know about Terry, but Toby went to Andy Serkis's performance school for motion capture. And that's interesting. So, you think about it, 2005, Kong is played by Andy Serkis, and Andy Serkis also plays the cook. And now we've got Toby playing Kong, and he's also playing Chapman. So I feel like Kong, whoever plays Kong, has to play an actual human character in the movie. Like, they're getting to play double duty. That's hard.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? I had to play 2 roles. I got to play Kong and then this character. But man, I love this film. This film is an absolute blast. And I really want to dig into the things we liked about it because there's a lot of really cool things to talk about this movie. So let's just get the ball rolling. Ruben, I think you're up.
All right.
This time?
Sounds good.
That'll work.
Yeah, dude. Take it away, man. Let us know what you liked, didn't like.
Basically, man, I liked the story. I liked the special effects. I liked the soundtrack a lot.
But soundtrack.
It was great.
So that soundtrack is just awesome. It was such a good soundtrack.
Anytime Creedence Clearwater Revival's in the soundtrack, dude, it's going to be so good.
Soldiers, helicopters, and Creed.
Yes, that is all you need.
And so I liked the soundtrack. They had their obligatory Vietnam era songs in there, but they also had a lot of different ones that you never hear, and I like that. Because I like that some of that I call it hippie rock, psychedelic rock. It's that 60s, early 70s stuff. And me, I don't know how much. My brother is a lot older than me. He's 15 years older than me. So I grew up listening to that music, as a kid. So in the early 70s. I was born in '66, so by the time I was old enough to kind of know what was going on, that was the music that was on, that he had in his Chevy van that he'd drive me around in, stuff like that. So I really like the soundtrack. I love the story, like I said. This movie is about as far as the MonsterVerse goes, I would say the only one close to it, but because it's Godzilla, it's King of the Monsters. But Skull Island really hit it out of the park here. As far as compared to 2014, as good as much as I like that one, this one was way. I mean, it was just done very well. Of course, that has a lot to do with the act. I mean, you've got Samuel L. Jackson, you've got, and I like Brie Larson in this one. You're right, she is hit and miss. And in this one, I thought she did a pretty good job. I did Tom Hiddleston. I mean, come on, you have a strong cast, along with the strong music and strong special effects. This makes for a pretty darn good movie. Off the top of my head and watching it, there's not much I didn't like about it. I wish they wouldn't have killed off Chapman, but because I wish he would have made it home. But it was a shame to see Samuel L. Jackson get knocked off by Kong, but at the same time, it sure was awesome.
Yeah. He went. He needed it. He needed it.
Sure was awesome. If Samuel L. Jackson is going to be killed, other than by the Emperor, of course. But this was awesome. The way the way they did it was pretty darn good. And like I said, I like the story. I think it could have been, maybe if I had one, maybe I'd like to have seen some more. I mean, they had a lot of different creatures on Skull Island. I would have liked to see a little bit more. Maybe because in every Kong movie, he basically fights 2-3 different species.
Right.
But other than that, I'm reaching on that one. I really couldn't. I really shouldn't be asking for much more out of this movie because it was just so good. I especially like that story because the human part of the story was real good too. Samuel L. Jackson's refusal. He just wants to keep on battling. He doesn't want the war to end. And this, I mean, as a matter of fact, this is part of the story is that the Vietnam War is over. Everybody's getting sent home. They're packing up. They're getting ready to leave. And then, he gets this phone call about one last mission, and man, he jumps on it.
Oh, quickly.
And that's
very quickly.
Yeah, quickly. And that's because they give him an out. They say, we know you're, and he says, no, I want to do it. He jumps on it. And, and because he just doesn't want this war to end. But at the same time, he's putting all these guys, he doesn't know. He thinks it's just a geological, survey that's going to go on. He knows nothing about what they're about to encounter. And I will say one thing, when you're describing the movie, you said they found Kong. I think it's the other way around. Kong found them.
Yeah.
I mean, out of nowhere, that Kong found them. Matter of fact, my favorite scene, I love the battles and everything, but my favorite part of that movie is Kong's first appearance.
Oh, dude, in front of the sunset, the sun.
From the sunset and all the way that's done. I'm like, man, I love that.
Well,
that other stuff is cool and it's awesome, but that stuck to me so much because it's just out of nowhere. He's just there, and he just tears up those helicopters.
It starts out with the tree coming right into the
helicopter. Exactly.
Yeah, that is just like out of nowhere. So.
Yeah, out of nowhere, they look and there comes a freaking tree, and there's Kong the tree deal again. Ever since Godzilla versus Kong, there's been that tree reference in there.
Oh,
there's
dude,
that tree reference. Yeah. And I'm sure when they make this movie, they say we got to, because there's two. I can think of two off the top of my head where he at the very beginning, that scene that I just described, where Mark just said that tree came from, and then when he's going to fight one of the skull crawlers, he grabs a tree and just strips it of all its branches.
Oh yeah. Oh, dude, yeah. That was sweet.
Yeah, that was.
Well, no, and you're missing one though. There's another actual reference in there, but it's kind of a big one. The octopus.
Yes,
because if we first see Kong and King Kong vs. Godzilla, he fights that octopus. And
exactly.
He's just slurping
Yeah.
that thing down.
Oh yeah, dude. That was
Yeah.
quickest fight in the movie. Definitely, he was just
Yeah.
one stop and it was done.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so there's not very much, I'm going to say it, there's not very much I don't like about this movie. Maybe you guys can point something out that I didn't notice, but this is a top-notch movie, very top-notch.
Oh man, absolutely is.
Yeah.
Mark, what about you?
Yeah,
Well, exactly, top notch. I mean, to me, it's the best of the Kong movies, and I think, looking at the Skull Island, and setting all that up for the MonsterVerse. I mean, getting everything going. You just the island itself is like, you do want to explore some more of it and see what other creatures are there, because the skull crawlers, the octopus, that's about it. Everything else is pretty calm. That big ox that you see out there in the water.
Birds are a little crazy. Those little pterodactyl birds.
Yeah. Those were kind of
and of course the spider. That was about it.
Oh yeah, man, that spider scene was awesome.
Oh yeah.
Dude, that went straight back to, and for those who haven't seen it, spoiler alert, there's a giant spider, but its legs.
Hold your ears, Pete.
Yeah, sorry, Pete, if you haven't seen this one. They're like bamboo trees. So it lives in the bamboo section of this island, and that's where it hunts its prey, and it can do it. And man, a soldier looks up, drinking a canteen of water, and all of a sudden that thing's leg goes right through his mouth. Dude, that took me right back to Cannibal Holocaust.
Yeah.
That's immediately what I thought about. I was like, oh my God, because I was not expecting that. Because the music's just real creepy, and all of a sudden just dead silence, just zoop, right up through him.
Then everybody goes into a panic. It's of course you can't tell. You can't tell what's a leg or what's a bamboo tree or what. And so it's like, oh my God, we're in some serious trouble here right now.
Oh yeah.
So, but I think overall, man, the action was great. The drama, the characters. Samuel Jackson's character. Yeah, he was real but he's Samuel Jackson. He plays it good. He does such a great job. You don't want to feel sorry for him, but you do, because it's almost like he's. What made me think of is that he had no family, had no place to go, and so he wanted this war to keep going.
Yeah,
and,
it was his only purpose. It was his only purpose in life. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And so he was bound and determined. I think he would have went after Kong even if nobody got killed. That was just,
he needed
that. Was,
that.
Yeah,
he needed that war.
He needed that to keep going, and so.
It reminded me of. Have you guys seen? I already forgot the name of it. I'm gonna have to get back. The Hurt Locker. Have you guys ever seen The Hurt Locker?
I have not.
I have not seen The Hurt Locker. No. Nope.
It's about that one's about the Iraqi conflict, and there's a guy in there who he's in his final days. He's getting sent home. He gets sent home, but he finds that he has no purpose, and he has a wife and kids. He needed that war, and he goes on back. And that's when I saw this. I was like, that reminded me of that scene. I mean, with that character in The Hurt Locker. He just. They don't talk about Samuel L. Jackson, what he has back home or not. I think it wouldn't really matter to him.
Right. I don't think so either.
The war is like him,
And you really thought like maybe the human characters might have a slight shot at taking Kong on, but when he comes roaring through that fire and comes out there right face to face with him, it's like,
I know, yeah.
Just walk away, because this thing is over. It's done. You can't do nothing to him.
No.
There's not enough firepower on the island that you guys have that would do anything. So
right.
It's a good movie overall. I couldn't find anything wrong with it. I mean, the soundtrack is just phenomenal.
Oh, soundtrack was great.
The cinematography.
We got Jefferson Starship, Ziggy Star, or David Bowie. Creedence Clearwater Revival, Black Sabbath.
Oh, yeah.
This was 70s.
Dude, when Sabbath comes on in there in that helicopter, I'm like, my skin's crawling. I'm like, dude, oh, yes.
Yeah, they
it
even
had
that. So there's a song that I like on there from the Stooges. I'm like, man,
that's right.
And you don't hear that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, you don't hear that song ever on any soundtrack. It's always the same stuff. That's what that's what made it different. Because, you know, you're going to hear, like I said, you're going to hear some of the ones you always hear in every Vietnam era movie. But this one had a lot of different ones. And that one, you know, I just liked what they selected and how they did it, because it was some of the off-the-wall kind of stuff that you don't hear every day.
Right. And one of the things I liked about, you know, in the other Kong movies, original Kongs, you know, he gets obsessed with the female, and and he doesn't in this movie. I mean, he's slightly attracted to her, you know, and he saves her right there at the end. But I mean, he's not obsessed, and it's not all based around his relationship with one character or a female. And so I thought that was good, and changed, you know, the way the movie was, the way the story's been told.
Yeah, his role is very, very different. I mean, he was. He's alone, but he has an island to protect.
Yes.
He is king.
But it still tries to show his personality. You know, when he walks up to the character, all the other humans, you know, the ones he's ticked at and wants to kill, you know it.
Oh yeah.
And then with everybody else, he's not, and he's willing to help and save them, but it's not an obsession. He's doing what Kong does. He saves, you know, protects the people on the island, the good people on the island.
Yeah, and you can see that intelligence with him. He knows, and he can tell right from wrong.
Right.
You know, and even by the characters, he can really, you know, you look at the scene with Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson, and one of the few night scenes in the movie, where they're on that ledge and Kong walks up and she puts her hand on him. That whole moment, you know, he's like,
and even in the beginning, the start of the movie, you know, you get the Japanese fighter fighting with the British or the
John C. Reilly's
Japanese soldier.
And then, you know, he's getting ready to kill him, and Kong steps up, and they both kind of freak out, like Kong's saying, "You're not doing that."
Yeah.
So, but that's it. I mean, to me, it's the best of the Kong movies, and it's fantastic, and no complaints,
man. So it really is. I mean, it's one of the scenarios too. When I think of Godzilla, is I got to put the original one on a shelf, you know, up top.
I mean, it's all pedestal.
Yeah, because
it's
I mean,
little pedestal on its own.
Without it, you ain't got nothing else,
right?
You know,
right.
But as far as the most entertaining Kong films, yes, absolutely, this is the best Kong film there is. As far as, I mean, there was a huge step of difference from Godzilla 2014 to this. I mean, and a lot of things. It's almost like John Roberts, the director, was like, okay, this is what people didn't like and where they screwed the pooch on 2014. I'm not going to do that in my film. The hardly any night scenes. There's 0 night fight scenes, which I thought was absolutely great. Every fight with Kong, with the 2 smaller skull crawlers and the major one, I mean, other than a brief moment when he's fighting or before he kills Samuel L. Jackson. Spoiler alert, you know, the skull crawler and him face off for a brief second. But other than that, it's all day fights.
Right.
You see it all. And that was absolutely awesome. So I liked that. I mean, the soundtrack was fun. I think the characters in this movie were amazing. I mean, we've stated, I mean, Samuel L. Jackson, John Goodman, you know, Tom Hiddleston, John C. Reilly. They're all amazing. Even the smaller cast, Cole and Mills, there were 2 characters, were amazing. Shea Wiggum, I think, is who played Cole, who was kind of the redneck, I guess, of the crew.
Yeah.
You know,
he did an amazing. I really like that character.
Oh, he's so good. You know, they get attacked by Kong there at the beginning, and the first thing he does is open up a can of beans and starts eating it. And it's great.
I really.
And Mills is like,
I'm glad you brought that up. I almost forgot how great
he's such a good character. To me, him and John C. Reilly were the best characters in the film. And you know, and Cole's character was great. I mean, they were walking, especially him and Mills. Yeah. You know, when he's walking through the forest and Mills or Cole says something along the lines of the lion and the mouse. And he's you know, he's like, what's he say? The lion or the mouse kills the lion. And and Mills is like, who told you that? Cole's like, my mother. He's like, that's not how it goes. But that explains a lot. You know, he's such a good character, man. And so the cast was phenomenal. The characters were phenomenal. And Kong himself, I felt was the best character in the film, which it needs to be in a Kong film anyways.
Yeah, right.
And every time he was on the screen, he was carrying an emotion. There's no words, but you know what's going on with him, and he's very intelligent. And throughout the whole movie, he does carry this somber, once you find out exactly what's going on, that his parents were killed, that he's last. It's almost like he is last. There's no other ones of his kind. And the Skullcrawlers have killed his family and killed his parents, but he's still got a job to do. And even though he's hurting, because he carries that hurt the entire film of being alone, the last of his kind, he still has a duty. He still has a purpose, and he has to fulfill that. And then I go back to that scene with Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson and Kong, and there's that awesome moment of peace and just between those three. And then all of a sudden the explosions in the background from Samuel L. Jackson's character, where they're setting the trap for Kong, happens, and he almost sighs before he roars. It's almost like, it's like,
I gotta go to work.
It's time.
And you can still see that loneliness in his eyes. Just when he looks, the way he looks, and you're right, and he does give that kind of sigh and like, okay, let's do this. Yeah. And so hats off to Toby, or Terry. I don't know which part of Kong Terry did, but for the way they handled that character, because they did so well. Yeah. And one of my favorite parts, there's so many good things. When Brie Larson's character is trying to, I don't know why, lift that helicopter off of that ox, and then Kong shows up the first moment with them since the attack, and he just looks and understands. It's like he knows she was trying to help, and it's great. And I love the emotion of the character, especially the final fight, with the big skull crawler. It's not just it wasn't like Godzilla and the Mutos. Like, Godzilla had to stop the Mutos because he knew, as an alpha predator, as the alpha of all the Titans, these things are a problem. They're parasites. Got to kill them. There wasn't anything like, these things killed one of my kind. Yeah. He just had to kill what he had to kill because he is the alpha. And with Kong and the Skullcrawler, there was blood between the two. Like, he knew that's who killed my parents. And that came out on top of that fight, and you could see it. Every bit. When he came at it, he came at the thing with all he got, and you could see the anger and rage in him. The only time you didn't was when he saves Brie Larson and he gets worried there for a second, But it was an absolutely amazing fight. Absolutely brutal, over the top. I loved it. When you think he's down and the Skullcrawler's chasing the human characters, and all of a sudden he comes out of nowhere flying from the side of a mountain with a massive boulder and just drills it in its head. It's like, dude, this is going to get tough. Yes. It was absolutely epic, and he's so smart. Now, I loved about Kong is it wasn't just what he can do in his strength. He used his environment in this film, which we really haven't seen too much of. We've seen before the tree down Godzilla's throat and stuff like that, but not to this extent. This one he does. He picks up the tree and just rips the limbs off and just drills it in the head. Uses that boat propeller.
The boat propeller in the chain.
That's massive.
Oh yeah, dude. It was just absolutely awesome. Of course, ripping its thing's throat and innards out with one hand to kill it was absolutely unbelievable. It was great. It was just highly entertaining. Everything that they got wrong with Godzilla 2014, they fixed with this film. They stepped up the action. The characters and the actors, they just went super above par. Especially, John Goodman. I would have never expected to see John Goodman in a monster film like this, ever. Right. Yeah. Technically, his first actual screen appearance was in Chud there at the end. He's one of the cops in the diner when the Chuds come back in and attack him. You see him briefly. That was his first actual film role. But other than that, it's not a John Goodman type of film. And he is absolutely amazing as Bill Randa. When he talks about the 54 explosions, because he was the only survivor on that ship in 54 that Godzilla attacked. And so for him, this whole thing's been personal, and he's absolutely great. When he sits down there with Samuel L. Jackson and talks about how monsters are real, it was such a captivating speech from him, and it's a super great character. I was kind of bummed he got killed, that he gets eaten by a skullcrawler, because I'm like, oh man, such a good character. but these characters are so good that you don't want any of them honestly to die because the cast is phenomenal.
Yeah, exactly.
Special effects, freaking top notch, man. When Kong is washing his hands and he's got those cuts from the helicopter blades, I mean, you can see the fingerprints in his hands. You know what I mean? Just the little details.
Oh,
yeah. This definitely, how it didn't win a special effects Academy Award is beyond me, but I mean, it definitely deserved the nomination because Kong looked amazing, man. Everything in this movie looked amazing. The sets, the creatures. I mean, it was just absolutely, top notch. My only complaint on the film, well, maybe two. My one major actual complaint was Brie Larson. Brie Larson's always been a hit or miss actress for me. Thought she was amazing as Captain Marvel. I loved her as Captain Marvel. I couldn't stand her in Avengers Endgame. Didn't like her in that movie.
No.
I thought, she was terrible in it. But she's playing the same character, but she was great in Captain Marvel carrying it, but was terrible in Endgame. I felt the same way here. She was the only actress, on screen that just, if she died, I don't care. You know what I mean? There was no attachment there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, now that you said, I mean, I mentioned earlier, I thought she did all right, but if this was a giant puzzle, she would be the odd puzzle piece out.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
Think, if you're talking about it. And not that she did a terrible job, it's just that her character didn't quite fit with everybody else there.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, and it's not because they were all men. And she was it was just something about her character. They did say it was a male with playing that same character, he wouldn't fit either.
No,
it was just something about it that just wasn't quite. Maybe it was a chemistry thing. I thought she did all right.
And I feel like those shining moments that she did have felt out of place. Three scenes in particular really sticks out to me when she's taking pictures of the Islanders. It just felt odd and out of place, and especially the way she was smiling and caring about it. I'm like, okay, do you forget what's going on around you or what you've been going through? When the John C. Reilly takes him to that ship shrine area where they painted the pictures of the history of Kong,
which was phenomenal. The way they did that. That was so
super cool. But when he calls them the skull crawlers, and Tom Hiddleston's like, "Why do you call them that?" And he's like, "Oh, I thought it was scary, And she makes a little quip, Mark's like, "Oh, I'm okay with that." It just felt out of place. And then again later, the third time for me that was majorly out of place was when she goes to the top of that cliff and fires that flare at the skull crawler. She just all of a sudden just seemed like she was trying to be Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, just this super boss heroine character like Sigourney Weaver, and it was odd. Too many things with her was odd for me, and that was my biggest beef of the film. Was honestly Brie Larson's character. And again, I mean, she's not bad. But like Ruben was saying,
it's more of a character. It's more of a character thing than it's more of a character thing than it is. I think. I mean, it's hard to pinpoint, but that's what I would say.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, that was my only real major beef with the film. The other only complaint that I would have with it, because everything on this movie went really well. I mean, the pacing of the film is so good. But my only thing that I guess I kind of wish I would have seen was honestly a little bit more of Kong's background. Like, I love the paintings, but if I could have had a scene where I saw Kong's parents, to me, if they would have went the extra mile on this, and it's really just not even a complaint because it was great the way it was. They explained the history, but if they did just went a little extra mile, and as they're showing, John C. Reilly's explaining the storyline there in the shrine, you're seeing in the painting on the rocks. So you can
visualize it.
But then at the same time, because they do a lot of flashbacks or cuts between the human characters and Kong, like when he's talking about Kong is God on this island, and he's kind of a loner. It flashes between him, and while he's still talking the dialogue, you see scenes of Kong. While he's explaining Kong's history there, to see that death of his parents in front of him in a flashback type scene, I think would have really took that movie from 10 to 11. You know what I mean? That one little bit was my only complaint, where I was like, the whole time watching that's the only time I've ever.
Well, I think they tried to fulfill that with when they went to the graveyard,
and you see his parents,
and you see them both laying there.
Well, but again, there that's never actually solidified. These are Kong's parents,
Right.
these two apes. But I mean, we do find out obviously with behind the scenes stuff and the books that's come out and things, those were his parents. I mean, that's what those were. They were, Kong's parents. But that's actually never spoken in the film.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that was it's not a complaint of the film. It's just one of the things I was like, man, I would have liked to have seen this, because I think it would have really made it go a little bit further and better the film overall. Just to visually see Kong watch his parents die, that flashback scene. I thought that would have been killer. But then the other thing I really want to talk about, it's not a complaint because those are my only complaints about the film, was this movie. We've gone through 22 Marvel films to Endgame from
Mm-hmm.
and we got those teasers at the end, those little setting up for the next film. And they've all been amazing. I mean, they've all been amazing. Seeing Thanos for the first time after the end credit, those end credit scenes. The Marvel movies created the end credit scene. Now people wait and expect something because of how much Marvel's done with that. And we get that in this film. But the end credit scene in this movie, I think, topped every end credit scene Marvel ever gave us. When you're sitting there and the credits end, and then you see Tom Hiddleston's character and Brie Larson's in that little room, and that scientist, the black guy that comes out, Dr. Brooks, comes out and says, Kong's not the only king. And you see the cave painting of Godzilla, the cave painting of Rodan, Mothra, then Ghidorah, and then you see Godzilla and Ghidorah. And the last thing that happens when you're sitting in the theaters, this is all going, Godzilla freaking roars at the end of a Kong film. I came unglued. I remember being in the theater. I came out of my seat. I jumped up and just threw my hands up and screamed, yes! Because it was absolutely epic, To me, that's a shining moment of this film. And again, I mean, Marvel set the stage and the bar with those after credit scenes. The after credit scene in this movie just kicked that bar right up. I mean, 10 more notches. It was absolutely epic. So, and of course, we going into Godzilla King of the Monsters was just, that last shot of Godzilla and Ghidorah, the roar, dude. I mean, when I watched it the other day, I made sure and I didn't want to fast forward. I wanted to enjoy the experience. I sat through all the credits just for that moment again because it was absolutely epic. But phenomenal movie. Such a good movie.
Yeah.
What do you guys got anything else you want to add on it?
And I think it just sets up the future of the MonsterVerse. I mean, now waiting. Now we got to wait till November.
Unfortunately,
yeah.
But we're expecting a lot.
I'm curious of this. After seeing this, I want to see. This is a pre-teen Kong, basically. You think, or teenage Kong?
This is like a teenager.
And things that I was reading, they're saying he's 104 foot tall in the Skull Island movie,
which is still bigger than he's ever been.
Yeah. And so even as a teen, a juvenile. So
and they got to set up because he's got to go from that to 300 feet at least.
Yeah.
To fight Godzilla. I'm excited because there's a lot we know. We don't know a ton about what's going on, but we know enough. We know that apparently Skull Island is kind of the origin spot for these Titans, including Godzilla, or something like that. We know that this is all going to go back to Skull Island in this next film. And of course, we're going to see Godzilla and Kong go toe to toe, and Kong's got a freaking beard. Like, yes, I absolutely love it. That's the few photos that's leaked. People are like, Kong with a beard, dude, it looks boss. Like, I'm so pumped for it. And he's got a scar over one eye too. He just looks like he's going to be Kong that we've got, but he's older, he's tougher, he's bigger, he's
going to be seasoned,
very seasoned. Everyone's like, well, how's he going to go toe to toe with Godzilla? Godzilla's fought some big enemies. He's been around a heck of a lot longer than Kong. Kong, you're looking at 1973. He's a teenager. In their time, you may think maybe that's 50 years. Something like that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Let's say he's 15 and 73.
Yeah.
Right? I'm just picking a middle number, and then that would make him, almost 60 years old.
Yeah,
correct?
60 years.
Right. Yeah.
But, even thinking, if it's 60 in our time, but maybe it's, even 100 years, let's say, in his time, pretty much.
That's true.
Godzilla's been alive for millions.
Yeah.
In this storyline and this thing, he's been here almost since the dawn of time. I mean, he's top notch. So we don't know what or who he's fought. We know he's fought Ghidorah multiple times. We know he's fought Mutos. I mean, Kong's going to be extremely seasoned, but Godzilla's definitely seasoned too. I mean, he's been around a whole lot longer. A million years in comparison to Kong. It's going to be interesting to see the two because they're both very highly intelligent creatures. I think Kong is definitely more intelligent than Godzilla, where Godzilla's more of a natural predator. I mean, he's got those
instinct driven.
Yeah, instinct driven. Where Kong is going to be conscience driven. Thinking out of situation first. Where Godzilla, permits, if I got to kill this thing because it needs to die. That's it. That's the only thought. Kong goes, I got to kill this thing because it needs to die because it's going to wipe out these people or these creatures. How can I kill it?
Yeah.
What's it do? How's this thing move? What's my surroundings? He breaks it down, and that's going to be his ace in the hole. I think when it comes to Godzilla, because he doesn't.
I
have
just
the
don't know
fire
how
breath.
they're going to do that. And, they're both protectors, in my opinion. Right? I think it's been determined they're both protectors.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, so why are they both going to battle each other? Maybe just to be the alpha?
Well, I
See
think
who's
what's
the
going to
alpha?
happen, and this is just me speculating,
And I know what's coming on.
is this is all going back to Skull Island, and I think Godzilla's going to show up, and Kong, Godzilla's the alpha, but to Kong, there is no alpha at Skull Island. He's been guarding it. That's his home. That's his territory.
Yeah.
And Godzilla's this other alpha predator that shows up. That's going to cause them to have to go toe to toe.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, if you go to Godzilla King of the Monsters and the end credits and the ends, and it doesn't referring to the monsters going
Back to Skull Island. Yep. Talks about the
there's-
Titans going back.
Yeah, there's going to be more than just Kong and Godzilla.
Well, I mean, and Adam Wingard's come out and stated, and then some of the people in the movie stated that there is monster chaos, the Titans fighting left and right. This isn't going to be just we're going to see Godzilla and Kong fighting, and then we know Godzilla and Kong and an additional monster that they're going to have to team up to fight is a fight.
Yeah, it's going to be.
But there's apparently monster fights throughout the entire freaking film. Like it's just the world's reaped into chaos for something that's caused it to just go crazy. And that's what's going to happen. I mean, Godzilla and Kong have got to go toe to toe. I think it's when Godzilla gets to Skull Island because he's Kong's territory. But I think that's the moment where Adam said we'll have a definitive winner. I think it'll be right there. We'll get the definitive winner so that we know it. But then they're going to put those differences aside and take down, the big bad of the film. It's going to be absolutely awesome. Absolutely. Well, Adam Wingard came out and said that's the most exciting film shoot he's ever done. And Adam Wingard's done some great stuff. I mean, I know not a lot of people like Death Note. I think that's probably what was his weakest live action film. I mean, like Blair Witch, that was absolutely epic. Who would have thought you could have brought that back and made it decently good? So I'm excited for it. Super excited for it. I mean, even if it's the worst of the MonsterVerse, which I don't see it happening because the whole purpose of them delaying this movie was to make sure it's the best of the MonsterVerse. And it's done right, because if they knock it out of the park with this movie, Toho is open to extending the contract. They're okay if the success continues for the MonsterVerse to continue. And I can't remember who I was talking to about this, but that opens up a lot of doors, because if they can continue the MonsterVerse, yes, Legendary makes a lot more money, can make future movies, but Toho will still get Godzilla back in 2020 as far as live action films. Could you imagine a film where the Legendary Godzilla meets the Toho Godzilla?
Uh-oh.
You know what I mean? That's the highest grossing film of all time right there. Just make it happen, But I mean, that's there's a lot riding on this. So I mean, I am like bummed out because I'm like, oh, we're not getting it next month. But I'm also not bummed out because I know they want to make sure it's handled and done absolutely right. They want this to be the best of the MonsterVerse, which I think is going to be great, because I mean, King of the Monsters did not do that great in the box office. I mean, it was the weakest of it, but the fans freaking love the movie. I mean,
Yeah.
more than those who hate the movie. Because there are those haters out there, and I don't understand them. But I mean,
Yeah.
that was an absolute. I mean, that was the ultimate fan service film. I mean, for any film.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
super
I
action
agree.
packed. And I think they've done extremely well with this MonsterVerse so far, and that's a lot because this is in the 60s and 70s. You know, Japan's a totally different machine, and they could run Godzilla forever. Godzilla has failed here multiple times. I mean, even though I don't want to say it, he has. You look at 1985, it flopped. You know, unfortunately, it flopped to the point that we didn't
Here
get him
in
on the
America.
big screen. Yeah, we didn't get him on the big screen again until 98, and Sony's just completely abused, horrible ripoff Godzilla that didn't do that. Has just been, well, we know it's been criticized because it's not Godzilla. You know, I mean, even Toho, who owns the rights to the creature, call it Zilla and had him go against the real Godzilla in Final Wars, but it did not do good. You know, it did not do what it wanted. Even the Devlin and Emmerich come out and said, well, we never actually really liked the character. We just want to make money. You know, and that's not how it's supposed to be handled. So then they try to redeem it again and bring Godzilla 2000 to theaters, and it freaking flops, you know, which really, really stinks. So he's not had a good track record in theater here, even though he's huge and the greatest pop culture icon. But to finally see the success, even with King of the Monsters not making what they wanted to, it still was an actual success, just not as much as 2014.
Not as much as they thought. But I thought that was a lot of box office fatigue, is what it was. I don't blame as much the movie as I do what was going on and when they released it.
Yeah,
you know,
they put it up against way too much competition.
Yeah, there was what I call film fatigue. It's like, man, there was just too many big films coming out all at the same time.
Yep.
And,
I mean,
you know, you're like, I'll wait on this one, and maybe they just kind of like just let it go, and it was. And that's what it was, because I thought it was an excellent film.
Well,
I mean,
and like,
you know, 3 times
when it released to home video, it was number one for like 8 weeks. I mean, it ran number one for home video sales for a while.
And that's a lot. I'm thinking that's why that's my theory. I can't prove it. I don't have data. I'm just saying that the fatigue was there when the movie was released, and then when it came out on, you know, digital media, then all these people that were tired of going to the movies or just didn't feel like going, they went and picked it up.
Yeah.
Because they still wanted to see it.
Yeah, because it was huge on that. Yeah. But I mean, they've handled this thing absolutely great, from 2014 to this movie Kong Skull Island, which is definitely the best of the Kong films, at least most entertaining. To Godzilla King of the Monsters, and I can't wait. I'm so excited to see this Kong again, because it's a different Kong, and there's so much more character to him, and I'm glad that this is the Kong that we're seeing go toe to toe with Godzilla, and then side by side with him. You know, I mean, it's going to be absolutely epic. The one little glimpse we've seen from the Warner Brothers reel at a convention, I can't remember, was it WinterCon or something? You see they're on some massive ship of some kind, but Kong in the air with his fist coming down for a freaking Hail Mary right at Godzilla. I'm like, dude, this is going to be epic, you know?
Yes.
So they did a great job. I think they did a phenomenal job. I think the MonsterVerse, in my opinion, has stepped up each time as far as the films.
Yeah.
You know, 2014 set the stage. Kong Skull Island, so much better of a movie. And King of the Monsters was a better movie than this, you know, in my opinion. But I absolutely loved it. I absolutely loved this film.
And I think Ruben's right as far as the fatigue of King of the Monsters. And if you look, I don't know if you know, just seeing there is a ton of movies coming out in March.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
And it is packed full. And I think it's a good move that they're moving it, you know, to November.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's coming out in May. I mean, May is usually a pretty big month.
Well, it's the beginning of the blockbuster season.
Yeah. So I think that overall, I think it's a wise move. They're not going to make that same mistake twice. On the fatigue, and so I do agree with what you're saying there, Ruben.
Yeah, but I think with what's coming with them, because we've got. I was trying to see if I could look it up, but I won't be able to pull it quick enough. I think the biggest one that's going to happen in November, though, is, if I'm mistaken, I think that's when Eternals comes out. Am I correct? Do you guys know?
I do not know that.
Actually, no, just check it. Yeah, November 6th is when the Eternals comes out, and that's setting the stage. I mean, we've got Black Widow coming before,
Right.
but Eternals is setting the stage for the next phase, for the next several phases of the Marvel film. This is setting up the next saga. And the Eternals are a big cast of characters from the comic world. And I know a lot of people don't know the Eternals like they do Spider-Man, but that's a big Marvel movie still. And to me, that's the only thing, because, I mean, that's November 6th, and we get Kong and Godzilla November 20th. Now, as far as that weekend, the weekend prior to it or the weekend after it, no, they don't have anything big happening. But you're going to still have a Marvel film to compete with. That's my only concern.
Well, now, do you think on the Eternals it's not going to do? I believe what Captain America's done or Spider-Man's done.
No, I don't see Eternals doing it. I see Eternals being more like Captain Marvel, not even Black Panther, Captain Marvel, Ant-Man. You know what I mean? That level. I mean, it is an ensemble film, but I don't see it, because it's the first Eternals, this first film with these characters. I don't see it being an Iron Man 3, an Avengers Infinity War Endgame, Captain America Civil War. I don't see, or Thor Ragnarok. I don't see it being one of those films, but it's still going to be a big film like Ant-Man and Wasp, Thor, one of those.
Right.
So it's going to be, but I don't think it's going to be huge like Marvel's done some movies.
Nah, the Eternals are more. They're you got Marvel's 18. You got Iron Man, Captain America, Spider-Man.
Yep.
Thor, and then you have all these other great characters that they built on. Like I'll tell you right now, and I'm glad I was wrong. I thought there's no way Guardians of the Galaxy is going to translate to film on a movie screen.
Right, I agree with you.
No,
didn't think it was going to happen.
Yeah, I did not think it. I didn't think it was going to. I said, nope, that ain't going to happen. It's not going to translate well. And I'm glad I was wrong. Those are some of the best Marvel films made.
Oh, absolutely.
Those Guardians of the Galaxy.
I agree.
So, I mean, it could surprise us and do well. And I'm only saying that because Guardians of the Galaxy weren't like, when you think of Marvel, that's not the first characters that pop in mind. At least back then. Now, maybe because of the movies, but when you think of Marvel, you don't think of the Eternals. So,
right. I mean, you've got to go. I mean, you're talking. The Eternals came out in the 70s from Jack Kirby and Stan Lee. And they're setting up for. I mean, we've got to go more cosmic because of the way this last story or the story ended.
Right.
So I mean, it is. It's gonna. I think it's gonna be big and may surprise us, but I don't think it's gonna be huge. That's gonna be too much competition.
I think,
but it's still competition.
I think you're right. It's gonna be like Ant-Man or Captain Marvel, or those are the two films that come to mind that they did all right. They're just not. They're just not the upper echelon of the Marvel universe. I guess I could say it that way.
Yeah, I mean, because in March, I mean, I think they pushed March because you got some competition. I mean, I think Bloodshot's going to come out and surprise everybody because Bloodshot's, it's a March film. But with I think the pushback, I think, was just to make sure the movie is the best it can be. But I think they picked the best possible month because, I mean, so much huge things are coming out in the summer that they need it to be the biggest it can be. So I think they made a smart move. I really do. But so anyways, back to Kong Skull Island, because we definitely went into the. I mean, it's a huge part of the MonsterVerse. I mean, that is part of it. I mean, and I cannot wait to see. I want to see the MonsterVerse continue, but I feel like they're going to play it smart too and make sure that in case it can't continue, they're going to end this story in a great way. And I'm excited to see how that turns out. I think they'll do their best to make it as open as possible for it to continue. But I do think they're going to make this the epic climax of this first story arc. You know what I mean? Kind of like, the first 22 Marvel films. And they've set the road.
It'll be the end of a phase.
Yeah. It's been really high so far. So, but you guys, anything else on this film?
Nope.
So we gave this one. We were unanimous on this one. This one got 4 out of 5 stomps, man. Yeah. It is super, super, super good. Definitely, like I said, I gave it 4 only because of the Brie Larson character and a few things I would have liked to have seen. You know what I mean? There's just not much at all to not give this movie a 5. And I think the only ways this one could have been given a 5 was just honestly the extra stuff. I think, like Ruben said, a little more monsters, or like I had stated, seeing Kong's parents' actual death.
Right.
Yeah.
Just those little things that would have sent it from 10
Pushed it
to
over the
11.
edge.
I think if it had those things, then it would have definitely been a 5. And taking Brie Larson out. You got to take Brie Larson out because she just didn't cut it for me. But big 4 out of 5 on this one, man. Super, super great film. If you guys have not seen this, you've got to watch it.
It's a must see. It's a must.
Oh, it
see.
is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even if you've never seen a Kong film in your life, this is probably maybe the best one to start with.
Yeah.
Because it's the best. I mean, other than the original. But I mean, I can understand, a kid today, or even a 20-year-old, person today, even a 30-year-old.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, let's go watch the 1933 black and white. I mean, there's just, kids today ain't going to do it. Especially like my stepdaughter, man. And then one of my sons, Colton, when they see the stop motion animation, they're always like, well, this stuff sucks. And I'm like, no.
Oh, no.
We wouldn't have what we have today if it wasn't for this stuff. And, but so, I mean, this is a great starting point. I think great introduction for Kong.
I think you're right. If you were gonna show a kid, a 10-year-old, say, and he's never seen Kong, I'd probably throw this one in. I mean, it's good.
Yeah,
it's really good. I got action throughout. In other words, you have maybe 20, 25, maybe 30 minutes before you see Kong. But other than that, it's a great movie to start. But
it is, and the pacing's great.
Just a public service announcement. I know that Mark and you and Sludge knows about this, but March 15th, the original Kong will be in the theaters.
Yes,
March 15th.
Yep, and we're going.
Yes.
So
yeah.
And Ruben, are you going? In your area, did you find one?
Plan, I plan on going. That's my plan right now. Matter of fact, I was looking at it. The only thing that might stop me is RJ will be home for spring break, and I don't know when he's going back. So I got to look at that before I finalize my plan. But I'd like to go see it with him.
Oh man, we're going to. Our showing is I think 4:00 on that Sunday. Very close to us.
That's the one I looked. There's one at 1 and there's one at 4. I think it's the same nationwide or wherever they're showing.
Oh, okay, cool.
1:00 and 4:00. Yeah. And so, as a matter of fact, I went and looked, and as of today, knock on wood, there was no tickets sold here yet.
Really?
The whole theater's empty right now. Yeah. I was kind of surprised. I'm like, that's fine with me. I don't care.
Yeah. Y'all want to miss out on seeing the original Kong. And hopefully they do the full restored would be great. I would like to see that original restored version. So I'm not sure which version they're going to bring out, but just add a few of the things.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, I didn't think. I think it would be the restored version.
I would too, because they brought it back since was it the 80s. They put the restored edition back together again.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's probably what we would see in the theaters, but it's going to be awesome. Yeah. So for those, like Ruben said, public service announcement, March 15th.
Yeah.
If you can see if one of your local theaters is playing it, you get a chance to see the original 1933 King Kong on the big screen.
That'll be excellent. Can't wait.
Man.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
So good. So
yeah.
All right. Well, guys, thank you all so much for listening. Another great episode. And again, a great movie. Like, we cannot stress it enough. This is an absolutely fun film. It has got great characters, great special effects, great storyline, great pacing. Just excuse Brie Larson. Other than that, it's absolutely a great film. So check it out. And of course, we'll be back next month. Our next Godzilla film I'm pumped about. The 1974 or 74 Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. Introduced one of Godzilla's biggest rivals. We had King Ghidorah, and he's his definite arch nemesis. But man, I'd almost put Mechagodzilla toe to toe with Ghidorah for a big time, for the arch rival.
That's a dream match right there. I'd like to see that.
Oh, dude, yes. Like it was. Hey, just saying, we might see some Mechagodzilla coming soon. But spoiler alert, should have said that first. Sorry, Pete. But I'm stoked about this one because this one is one that I watch a lot. I watch this film a lot. I absolutely love this movie. So I'm super stoked about this one. And then, of course, right after that, because of Justin McLean's request, we're jumping into Leviathan with Peter Weller.
yeah.
Great cast, man. I mean,
Yeah.
Peter Weller, Richard Crenna, Amanda Pays, Daniel Stern. Wow, I can't remember his name. He's in that Last Man Standing show with Tim Allen, his boss.
What is his name?
I can't think of his name either.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
in it.
Yes.
Oh, man.
And then I can't remember that one guy. He was in Batteries Not Included. Phenomenal cast in this movie.
Yeah.
Such a good movie. When it comes to those 80s.
As a matter of fact, I was about to throw it, but believe it or not, I thought we were going to record a little later. So I was perusing. I was on Amazon Prime, and I was perusing, and it was on. I said, you know what? I'm going to watch it right now. I hadn't seen it in such a long time.
Oh, man,
and
it's
then,
so good.
I was
So
about
good.
to sit there and watch it, and then I got a text from you, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to throw in Kong
No,
Skull
do
Island
it.
again.
Well,
Yeah.
Justin had messaged me, and Justin messaged me pretty regularly. And I'm super excited too, Justin. Just so you know, because I know you'll listen to this of you coming up next month for the first live show. Unbelievably stoked, man. But he messaged me.
You probably need to make that pitch too, and just tell everybody out there what's going on. And
I will definitely do that.
Yeah,
I will do that. Yeah, here in a second. I need to do that because I do that a lot. But he messaged me about those 80s underwater monster films, Deep Star 6, Lords of the Deep. We actually found one that we had never seen, me and him, called The Rift. And he finally made it through it. I haven't had a chance to start it yet, but I guess it's pretty bad up until the actual, creature effects and stuff is pretty top. It's like that's where all the money went. But that was something we brought up was Leviathan, and we were both just like, I mean, Leviathan was it, dude. When it came to those 80 monster films, especially the underwater ones, Leviathan was just so above par. And so I can't wait to do that one, definitely. But then, like Mark said, March 14th is the actual show, right? Yeah, because 15th's Kong.
Yeah.
March 14th, we will be doing our first live podcast. We're actually doing it in front of a live audience. But we'll be airing it live on Facebook, so you'll get to see it. And then, of course, we'll come back and put the full edited podcast video and everything on YouTube and the podcast site and stuff so you guys can watch in case you missed the actual live stream. But that will be March 14th. It's a Saturday. That'll be from 6 to 8 p.m. We're super stoked.
Wow.
Me and Micah, of course, we've got a lot of great things. We got a lot of news coming for everybody. Got a couple good topics we wanted to discuss and bring up. But then we've got a special guest, a man by the name of Robert Pilk, or just Rob is what it goes by. He founded Mountain Empire Comics here in the Tri-Cities area in Tennessee. They've been around for 35 years. They have 2 stores, one in Bristol, one in Johnson City. And he also founded RobCon, which has become the leading comic convention in this east side of Tennessee for a few years. They had several thousand people there last year. Super stoked because we've been there the last 2 years, and we'll be there this year and talking about maybe doing a little bit bigger role at RobCon for the podcast. So we're super stoked to have him. It's going to be a great show for those who are listening who are local or in the area. Justin McLean, you're included because I know you're coming. We will be doing a Q&A section as well, asking us questions or asking Rob questions. And the first 3 people that get picked in the Q&A, we actually have giveaway prizes for them. So pretty stoked for that.
yeah, if you're in the Bristol, Tennessee area, the Tri-Cities area, it's at Pizza Plus.
Yes, I'm
on
sorry,
West
on West
State
State
Street.
Street. So the Pizza Plus is a chain of restaurants down here that my family's been friends with the owning family of that chain. And they got how many stores they got?
48 now.
stores. So it's a pretty big chain.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they just opened a brand new store on State Street, which is a pretty historic area here in Bristol because it's called State Street because one side of the street is Bristol, Tennessee, and then the other side of the street is Bristol, Virginia. So it's a kind of a big national type thing here, and it's pretty cool. But got a brand new store, and then they're being awesome and letting us do this right there in their big party room. Well, we'll hope. It looks like we may kind of worried, man. We got a lot of people.
we may have to move over into the main dining room.
Yeah,
because
so
the party room may get filled up.
And hopefully it does, because we want to do this every month. And but this will be a big one, so definitely please join in. Again, that was March 14th from 6 to 8 p.m. and we'll be live for our first live audience podcast, I guess. Excuse me, which would be pretty cool. So, anything else, guys?
It for
No,
me.
I've
Awesome.
got nothing but green with envy on that live show.
Oh man, it's
Wish
gonna
I
be.
could be there.
Oh, dude, we would love for you to be
Yeah.
here. That'd be so much fun. Maybe when we can line up, if it goes good, we'll line up a monster movie Stompdown one where we can MST3K style it. Do do it live, you know, in front of the film and air the film at the same time. That'd be killer.
Yes.
So anyways, again, guys, thank you all so much for continuing to listen to the show. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. I know we kind of went a little rant about the MonsterVerse there. I think it's needed with where we're at and what movies we're talking about. So, we'll see you guys again next month, again with Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, then Leviathan, and hopefully we'll see you March 14th for our first live podcast. This is Sludge.
And Mark.
And Ruben.
You all have a good night.
Good night.